over to YouTube. Link is in my bio. Hey YouTube world, we're doing a quick stream here on adapting code for one time period to another time period using ChatGPT, GPT-4. So in this case, we have donation and pledge data. So it's like a donation platform. And we have metrics for how many donations you've gotten over the last week. And we want to adapt that logic to deal with monthly, quarterly, and annual. And this is a really great use case for GPT. So I wanted to kick off a stream and show you that. So you can see in front of us, I have get monthly donations by year without context. And the without context is referring to the React context. So we're using context here. On this index page, you can see, let's go to where it comes from. We have this dashboard data context with its reducer. So we're using the context API, right? So there's a way to get monthly data through the context API, and this one is in contrast to that. So this is getting the monthly donation by year without context. And I want to take this logic and adapt it. So I have this UI. Here's the UI. You can see that year is currently working. And it has January, February, March, April. These are labels that I won't be using in my quarterly mode, right? These are labels that I won't be using in my weekly mode. And so month and quarter are currently not implemented. So year works, and I think week works, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. So we have this logic, and we can provide a few examples, 2 examples, week and year, to GPT, so it won't be a zero-shot prompt. Let's kick off. So I'm going to say okay, got my keyboard. Or let me say role. You are an expert TypeScript developer that is implementing a chart component in next.js. Let me go ahead and specify the chart library. That will be useful as well. So we go over here to package. Is it just chart.js? Yep. With chart.js. Task. Consider the who is implementing a chart component in Next.js with chart.js. You have implemented yearly and weekly views of donation data. Ghost says, how many APIs are you using? A lot. Like, I don't know. I didn't have a count of them, but it's a lot. If you need it, you make it, right? I think there's something like 20, somewhere in the 20 range of database entities in this project at the moment. You have implemented yearly and weekly views of donation data. You would like to adapt this data to provide monthly and quarterly views. One of the things I love about ChatGPT is that it forces you to turn your ideas into native language, into human language, which is going to improve your communication skill, right? It's a little bit flow breaking. So if I'm in code flow, then I'm thinking in code. If I'm in ordinary conversational flow, I'm thinking in conversation. So going back and forth between those two domains, just like if you're someone who speaks multiple languages, thinking in different languages, it's a little bit flow breaking, but it's a net win. It really actually improves your ability to think through the concepts, because if you have to bear in mind how something is represented in multiple languages, you're really thinking about the concept, right? If you only ever deal with one language, whether we're talking about programming or regular languages, if you only ever deal with one, there's a relatively bigger emphasis on syntax and idioms in that language over the actual concepts. So this helps, like a rubber duck, it helps you think about what it is you're actually trying to communicate, which is going to carry over past your project and improve your communication with your teammates and stuff. Thanks for the follow. Ghost says, doesn't that mean 20 possible vulnerabilities? I don't think so. If that was a joke, I missed it. Sorry. The number of database entities has no one-to-one correlation with possible vulnerability space. Okay. You implemented yearly and weekly views of donation data. You would like to adapt this data to provide monthly and quarterly views. That's pretty much it, right? I will provide, okay, let's see. Let's also say blitz.js. And then I'm going to provide it the examples. Command Z, Command Shift Z to sort of toggle the commented line. It also snaps me over there, so it's a bit of a code navigation trick to do Command Z, Command Shift Z. So these green ones are commented. I need to implement those. Let me right click and click so I can focus on this file. Donation, we'll go with donations first. So donations monthly, this is going to be a reference file. Latest week donations, this is going to be another reference file. Great. So I'm going to grab the static props for the page where it's displayed. I will now provide the get static props code that is used for the page where the chart is displayed. After you read it, let me know that you are ready to receive the query implementations for the weekly and annual views of donation data. Shift, enter, enter, 1, 2, 3 on the tick, and I'm going to say TypeScript, again providing context about what we're doing here. 1, 2, 3, enter. And so I'm keeping these prompts a certain size. I can't just dump it all, and the first prompt, ChatGPT will tell me that my request is too large. Musically quotes, can we see the UI? Yep, here you go. So this is the weekly data. We can snap over to annual. This is what it looks like currently. And we want to implement the month and the quarter. That's what we're doing now. Thank you for the likes. Every developer these days have a chat tab open, not gonna lie. Yep, it's true. W, appreciate the dub. Appreciate the dub. Does ChatGPT hold contextual value for the words role and task? It does, it does. It's not special. It doesn't have special contextual value, but it has the ordinary English training set context, which includes information about the idea of role and task. In other prompting schemes, you'll have people spell out, I would like you to act in the role of. This is just a more terse way of expressing that. All right, I've read this. Please provide the implementations of the weekly and annual views. Awesome. Good robot. Here is the implementation of get latest week. Is it week or weekly? Let's see. Get latest week donations.ts. I'll say below instead of here. Below, after, when you let me know are ready for the yearly code. And I just happen to know, just because I've done this so many times, I just happen to know that these two code files, or like the 3 blocks of code that I've given, will not overflow the ChatGPT context token limit. So there's an 8K ChatGPT Pro, like GPT-4, what I'm using. Highly recommend GPT-4 over 3.5, by the way. And I just happen to know that I'm not going to overflow that limit. But if you give it too much code, you'll overflow the limit and it will start to forget things. And so it won't give you good answers. How can you test this? One way you can test this is ask it questions about what you originally said. So I could say, like, who are you? Or what was the first snippet of code I gave you? Or remind me about the overall goal of what we're doing today. And it should give me the right answers. Who are you? You're an expert TypeScript developer. The first code was the get static props, and we're developing this chart. So if it forgets those things, that's a signal that lower in the chat, you've overflowed this window and it's starting to throw into the recycle bin the upper things you originally said. Okay. Please provide the yearly code so I can get a complete picture. I would love to do that. And in this case, I'm going to skip well, there's not much imports to skip. I might have skipped the imports to save some tokens because it's going to be the same imports, but that's fine. I will go ahead and use it all. It's only 4 lines. There's not much value add in repeating these imports. GPT will rightly assume that we're using the same, that DB, when it imports DB, it's going to be from the same location. Z means the same thing. It means Zod. GPT will be assuming these things based on my first sample. But there is some probability that it acts dumb. And so maybe this will marginally improve the probability. It doesn't cost much, so I don't really care. Get monthly donations by year. Here I'll just straight away say 1, 2, 3. Get monthly donations by year.ts. Just saving some characters. And GPT understands the idiom that the 3 ticks is going to kick off a code block and that the inline represents what is the subject of the 3 ticks. This is a programming documentation idiom that's found in READMEs and elsewhere. So GPT gets the picture here. So I can use that as a hack to save some tokens, basically. Great advice. Thank you so much. Phligathetic. Awesome name. Thank you for the follow. Hey, quick reminder, y'all. You can go to YouTube, link is in my bio, and see the full screen. Why not use Xcode on the Mac? It's better than Visual Basics on Mac. So we're using VS Code. We're not using Visual Basic. We're not using Visual Studio. We're using VS Code. And it's definitely better than Xcode in this TypeScript use case. If I was writing maybe Swift, different story, right? But we type script in it up here. We type script in it up in here. Okay, thank you for providing. Let's now adapt the code. Let's start with the monthly view. So I'll grab this. It did both. We love the efficiency. Okay, so I can see these queries: get donation, get latest week donations, get monthly donations by year. And so I'll create a new file in this same folder structure. So we're here in the queries. Here in the queries, we're going to write new file. I'm going to temporarily name it because I may come back and rename it because I want the name to match what I said in the other file, and I can't remember because I'm an idiot. My memory span, y'all. Fact about John, I don't remember things. I have to write it down. But I will not remember. I guarantee you. I have no memory span. Okay, so this will be get. It seems that the time period comes before the word donations. That's weird. Get monthly donations by year. Oh no, it makes sense. Sorry. So the by is an idiom for what the argument is going to be. So we're going to pass this query a year. Get latest week donations is actually a completely separate idiom, because we're not going to tell it, we're not passing it any argument. It's a void argument signature. We're not giving it any argument. It's internally going to look up the latest week. So what about the monthly case? What are we doing? Do I want it to internally look up the past month? I do. I totally do, right? If I wanted to look at all the months, I would click on the year and it would show me 12 months. If I click on the month button, I just want to see the most recent month. So we're going to adopt that idiom, get latest month donations. And let's review this code. It didn't import, that's fine. See, remember how how come the company you work for lets you stream the company's code? This is not my company this is not my company's code. This is my code. Good question, I guess. I'm not streaming. Yeah, no, my company does not let me stream their code. Like Monday through Friday, that company, they don't let me stream their code. And I wouldn't want to. Also, half the stuff I would be teaching you would just be stuff that the company does, rather than like normal programming things. Because I don't even know if you wouldn't even be able to understand that code. Oh, so you're just stealing your company's code, huh? Okay, I think we're trolling in the chat. All right. Hopefully I'm detecting a joke. Okay. Valve BTW says, what's up? Hey, thanks for being here. Nice profile pic. The fish from SpongeBob. What is that thing called? Yes. Okay, thanks for confirming. I love it when the chat confirms that they're joking, because like sometimes I can't tell. Oh man. Thanks. So what am I doing? What I want to do is ensure that this month-wise code is internally looking up the most recent month. That's what I'm currently doing. Whenever GPT creates code for us, we really need to review it thoroughly. So we really need to be cognizant before reviewing it, set up what do I expect, then review it, did it match? Rather than not having any expectation. Here's another way to read code that's worse for peer review. If I come to the code, I have no prior expectation, no assumptions, no expectations. I'm just going to read it and say, does it make sense? I could easily walk away saying, hey, that code made sense. And it might make sense. And it might be totally detached from what it was supposed to do. This is like a very common thing. So what you want to do is don't just read code and say, does it make sense? Instead, before you start reading the code, plan, what do I expect it to do? Like you're writing a unit test, you'll have an expectation, and then you'll read the actual, and you will assert whether or not they match. True or false comparison. You're welcome. Parth Patel, what are you building? We are building a donor relationship management platform, kind of like a customer relationship management platform, but it's a special form where the customer is a donor. Why no types? Excuse me. Why no types on get daily donations by month without context? Why no types? What do you mean? We do have types. So this promise is this is the type right here. And then it refers up here, and then these types are sort of nested. For month and next month. Sorry, I don't understand the question. The type is right here, right? Maybe I'm confused about the question. Sorry about that. We definitely have types. We have all the types. Okay, excuse me. So now that we have the expectation in mind, let's review the code. Obviously, we need to fix the import. That's not even worth focusing on right now. That's super easy to fix. Assuming that the code, I don't want to fix the code if the code's wrong. So I want to make sure the code is right, and then I can fix the imports. Does that make sense? Those consts should be type number. those consts should be type number. These are number, right? All right, let's just go through this. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Oh, here's some. Okay. Awaits should be try-catched. So this entire thing, like I want to let it error. I want to let it error, believe it or not. So this is going to be executed on the server side. So the error handling will be done at the tip of the route. It will be done at the tip of the route rather than sort of like nested layered handlers. I just want to have a flat handler at the top. Does that make sense? We definitely handle it before it gets to the client, but I don't want to handle it right here. Actually, we're explicitly throwing errors in some cases. So this, there are some different designs for error handling, and it sort of depends on what thing you're coding up, like what component or service you're coding up, or what module you're coding up. But in some cases, we want to fail quickly and loudly. Sometimes we want to do that. And that would be like what we're doing in this case. This pattern right here, this is called a guard. This is a guard clause. And we're using the guard clause to fail quickly and loudly. So I wouldn't want to handle it and then return, like what would I return? It would be a misleading response because I would have to return some stub data that matches this type. And it would look like it didn't err, but it did err. And then I would have to interrogate the type and say, well, is this value the stub value? And if so, it's an error case. I don't want to do all that. I just want to catch the error and handle it directly. So that's why we're not having any try catches in here. We're basically intentionally letting it fail. Okay, that's an interesting convo. Little fun convo about error design. That's not the main thing that I wanted to check. The main thing that I want to check is this service internally looking up the most recent month as opposed to taking an argument. And it seems like the answer is no. It seems like it's taking an argument right here, right? So let's look at the latest week donations. Right, so in this case, get latest week donations follows the void signature idiom. There are no arguments, internal, like there are no arguments. That makes sense, right? Let me know in the chat if that makes sense. Cocaine payroll, sure, send them to, I'm not gonna give you my address, but if you can find me, send them to me. So GPT did the wrong thing. And that's kind of on me because I gave it two references that follow different patterns. So that's kind of on me. So let me go back and see if it can recognize the idiom difference. If it does, if it just recognizes it based on the naming alone, I wouldn't be super surprised because it's a language model, but that's just really impressive if it does that. And I think people don't understand how impressive that would be. Get daily donations by month without context. It's almost doing the right thing. I might even keep that function and add a wrapper that just passes in the date. Okay. I will mention that as an option. Dang, should I even mention it as an option? Can you also create a query called that internally determines the correct date ranges to query in order to look up the daily data for the latest month, similar to that other thing. Get latest month, get latest week, similar to get latest week. AXZ. We come back, command, similar to tick, command V. I use the ticks. The ticks are to indicate technical literal tokens. technical literal tokens. That's a function name or a file name, and it's very important that it's preserved. I'm not speaking in the normal English way. And so that's when we use those ticks to communicate to GPT. This is a technical string. Does that make sense? Nito, thanks for the follow. Hey, quick reminder, y'all. If you're watching on TikTok, you can go over to YouTube. Link is in my bio and see the full screen. If you're enjoying the video, throw some likes on it. This is a great example of how we're using GPT to adapt existing code into a new use case to save time. Certainly, based on the structure of get latest week donation, I'll provide an implementation of this thing. So let's grab this. Now here, the system, GPT, the system, elected not to reuse the other implementation that it made. It decided to do a standalone implementation. And so I'm glad that I didn't suggest the option to reuse, because I may have biased it to do so. GPT has this like prompt pleaser bias. If it detects that it thinks that you want it to say something, it will tend to say it, even if that's not ideal. And I think this is an artifact of maybe even the desired product of the human. What is that thing called? It does like some training. Let's Google this thing. GPT human feedback training. RLHF. That's right. Reinforcement learning from human feedback. So OpenAI passes ChatGPT through this RLHF process, where basically they will give it the raw model, and then people, like a sample of people, will use it, and then they'll provide feedback. I didn't like that answer. I did like this answer. And it will incorporate that feedback training in order to provide, the intent is to provide a better user experience. One of the side effects, though, is that it systematically biases the model. I don't even know if that's a side effect. It's like the same effect. But it is a trade-off. So for some technical cases, for many technical cases, the results are worse, technically. But the average chat user finds that to be a better user experience. That kind of makes sense, because the average chat user isn't trying to speak technically. And if you like ask someone like a normal question, they give you this like really technical answer, you're like, don't do that. Right? But it hurts the people who want the technical answers. So this prompt, promptor desirability bias kind of creeps in and kind of ruins queries sometimes. Query results. It ruins query results. Like it might have reused the code when that was less efficient, if I had suggested that. Okay, so this looks good. I'm not seeing any import errors or anything. 0 arguments. Now, it starts with now. It looks back, start of the current month. Get full year. So this is looking up the current month. Ooh, do we want to do the current month or the current month minus 1? That's an interesting question. Yeah, let's go with the current month, right? If latest week is doing the current week, we want them to be consistent. Start of past week. So this is doing like a 7-day literal rather than like a Monday through Friday or Sunday through Saturday sort of thing. Which is a little different than the way we treat a month, right? So with a month, it's not going to be a 30-day literal. It's not going to be a 28-day literal, 31. We can't pick a number. So the month pattern is a different pattern from the weekly pattern. So with the month pattern, This is a 24/7. So will it end up on the current day or will it end up on the current day minus 1? Let's look at the chart. Today is the 24th. What does the chart say? Does the chart include the 24th? I think it will. Here's the 24th on the far right. So the weekly pattern is the current week, basically. So GPT got that right. The weekly pattern is the current week, including today. So the monthly pattern, then, for consistency's sake, will be the current month, including today, even if the month hasn't completed. So it could be like the 15th, and we're going to be like talking about like the 28th, and it's just going to be an empty column on the chart. That's fine, and then we can decide if we want to trim the chart down or let it ride. So returning to the code, GPT elected to look up the start of the current month using now.getMonth. This is smart. This is very smart. So it's looking up the current month. I am not familiar with this comma 0 syntax. What does that do? So date, we pass the year, the month, and the date. Oh, it's the 0 tick on next month. So the 0 date on next month, I didn't realize that. So this is a way to express up until midnight of the current month, is you look at the 0 date on next month. I didn't realize you could do that. That's lit. That's lit. Cool. So it's looking up the 0 hour on next month, and it's from the first of this month to the 0 hour on next month, which is end to end of this month. Great. Include contact, yes. We get the donations, the donation with the contact information. That is the person who did it, so we want to keep that around. Sort donations into the corresponding day bucket. So we have donations for each donation date. That is a property of the donation, that's right. And we can see the type is flowing through. So even though it's not expressed directly, it's flowing through from the DB entity. Where's the DB entity? This thing. It's when we look it up in the query. So here's the include contact. So this thing right here. So here's the DB entity. We look up the donation, the type flows through. And we don't need to keep using the colon syntax because the type is flowing through. Does that make sense? Okay, let current day donation. This is just null checking, basically. Where does daily donations come from? There's just an array of. It's going to label it with a locale date string. Good. So this null checking is basically making sure that we don't try to look up like the 40th day of the month, which is not a thing. So there's no integer regulation here. You can see it's a for each. It's an unbounded for each. So there's no regulation which says it has to be between 1 and 28 or 1 and 30 depending on the month. So that's what this logic does basically, is it just says whatever number you put here, if it wasn't included in this array of the days that we care about, that's an error. So that's the null checking there. We get the donations for the month. I might want to use a generic term like for period so that I can recycle more logic against the week. So this is for week. Oh, financial period. So that's the generic entity, and then the for week is the denormalized entity. Okay, financial period, daily donations. Financial period, daily. Okay, so we're still using the daily donations, which is generic and chartable. Good. This looks good. Da, 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 da. Let's plug it in. Get latest month donations. So we're going to come over to the get static props again. Command F, get latest month, and it doesn't exist. So get monthly donations by year. Get latest week. Okay, so basically the commented code, when I was pseudocoding this commented code was like pseudocoding. When I was pseudocoding this, I picked the wrong abstraction, basically. Donations quarterly, donations latest month. Oh, donations latest month indicates the right abstraction, but then I just copy and pasted the quarterly thing. Get quarterly donations. So it's not even talking about whatever. It was a pseudocode. Okay, so let's uncomment this. And we don't need to pass it the year. Okay. We already have the year in hand, so the quarterly we can have an argument. That's fine. Here we want to get latest. Help me out. I'm expecting Copilot to help me out here. Get latest month donations tab, and it helps me out. Did you see that? Expected to arguments got 0. I'm going to command click. I don't know why you expected two arguments, homie. There are none. I'm going to control minus to jump back, minus again. Command C, F, V. I'm going to check the import is from the right location. Okay. I'm not sure this is right. Get latest week pledges. Get latest week donations without context. So the issue might be that I'm using the context API unexpectedly. And that would be the two arguments it's expecting. It's expecting the context arguments, basically. Okay, so let me do this. I'll call it without context. Save that, grab this, F, V, enter. Oh no, it grabbed too much. I just want to double click. Command C, F, V, enter. I'm not using it anywhere. Command A, right arrow. Without context. Okay, so that's better. Donations latest month. Make sure that we're using this const. Donations. It's just not on there at all. That's okay. Donations. I don't like the way these props are organized. I want them alphabetical. LM. Donations latest month. Let me grab the pledges, bring the pledges up. So now we have latest week will be after latest month. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, L, M. Just sorting these prop return. Don't get comfortable. Hey, never let them know your next move, right? That goes for code too. If you are a piece of code, never let your programmer tell you what to do. You're the code. You're in control. Do whatever you want. Don't let those crazy programmers boss you around. Okay, in theory, donations for the latest month is now hooked up. Let's go test our UI. We're going to just regression check, click the year. Year is still working, we assume. Okay, let's click this week. Great. Look at the animation. After it loads both data, I kind of need to do like some kind of fix here because it's get static props, so it should be shipped right away. I think maybe it's because I'm using a dev server that get static props is not statically predetermined, but it should be statically predetermined, so I should never see the flash of unstyled content. And it should just do this gorgeousness. Look at this gorgeousness. You love to see it. Now we're going to click month, and the thing may or may not work. I actually don't, now that I'm thinking about it, I never linked up the prop on the chart side, did I? Okay, so it's going to break. Let's click it. 1, 2, 3. It kind of worked. It's showing the week data. let's go look at the chart side. So here I'll go ahead and commit. What have I done? I have got this entity, donations latest month. So let's double check the changes. Here we're importing. I can sort those imports. This is not actually sorted, so I'll Command Shift P, TypeScript sort imports, brings it up. That looks better. We uncommented and fixed that, great. We fixed this, so now this is stageable. And then we just totally made this whole thing. So we'll stage that. Here, it's a feature, donations latest month. So we'll commit that and push it. Now I'll right click, close others. I'm going to look for the week data. Ooh, I did a bad thing. Look at this. The data that's shipped to the UI is ISO strings. The data that's shipped to the UI is ISO strings. So we cannot ship objects via static props. It needs to be serializable. And when it comes to dates, dates are ambiguously serializable. When you serialize a date, the question is, how do you want to serialize it? And there are various formats, and I want to explicitly control the serialization, deserialization logic so that I know what I'm dealing with. And I don't end up in a situation where the server is sending one format and the client is parsing a different format, and you either get an error or it might not error, it might proceed with incorrect data. Those are both really bad. So I should not ship this. I need to create one more operation. And I see the ordering here, monthly, weekly are grouped. But again, I'm going to go back to, I would rather have this alphabetically grouped. Have you ever argued with yourself? I do it every day. LM. And so this is me arguing with my former self who grouped these a different way. That guy can fuck off. Donations monthly to ISO. Donations latest week to ISO. You coding with Java? No, this is TypeScript. This is TypeScript. Good question. Thanks for being here, ABG. Quick reminder, if you're on TikTok, you can go over to YouTube, link is in the bio, and see the full screen. Almost at 1,000 YouTube subscribers now. I think I'm like 993 or something. So donations monthly to ISO. And we are going to make donations latest month to ISO. So I drop this in. I already have this convert to ISO utility, just reusing it. And latest week becomes latest month. Easy mode. I probably could have asked GPT to write up the get static props as well, but there's some cases where it's just like, it's so easy it's not necessary, right? So just because GPT would be good at it doesn't mean you should actually do it, eh? Weekly. Donations latest weekly to ISO is dropped literally, so then we will drop similarly, literally. Save that. So this will be fix ISO for monthly data. Stage, commit, push. Now, I'm going to go look up where this thing is used. Command Shift F V enter. It's used on this other. It's used in the context. That's not what I care about. It's used in the types. That's not what I care about. It's not used anywhere. What's going on? How do I get that week data? I'm going to look for the chart directly. Command P, chart. Excuse me. Where is the chart component? I might need to look up the page. Okay, let's look up we're on the dashboard index presently. So this is the relevant page. So let's browse around here a bit. Here's the dashboard page entity. You can see it's a blitz page, which is a next page. And it has some static props. Now it has the new ISO static props. So what's happening with these props? They're set into state. That is my contextual state. This is not like a local use state. This is a use context contextual state. It's going to flow all the way down the tree. That's the difference. Okay, so I'm in my state. I'm in my, and we have the left and right region. I know the chart is on the left region. Let's click into this component. This one always freaks me out because it says that it's an unused import, but it's totally used. And if you remove it, the app crashes. That's fun. PDF work is awful. Okay, here we are getting the datas. So here's the context. We're only grabbing dispatch. So this page does not explicitly use the context state, it only sets it, okay? The bar graph. Okay, I was looking for the term chart. I was looking for like a chart TSX. It's a bar graph TSX. That's why I couldn't find it. Okay, so here's the dashboard data we're getting from state, the contextual state. And it gives us current donations, current pledges, okay? Dashboard data, use dashboard data. So maybe something is set improperly here. Let me look for an ISO. Okay, here we go. This is the thing, y'all. This is the thing. Okay, so this was the gap. You can see there is a reducer action for year, a reducer action for quote this week. That's the button literal text. Don't fight me. This is a side project. Don't fight me because I didn't extract my button literal text to a, constant variable or. It's fine. Everything's gonna be fine. Okay, I promise. All right. So I need to add a new block here. So it's real simple, actually. I mean, it looks kind of like boilerplatey and maybe scary if you haven't seen it, but basically it's an if statement. You can do a case switch if you want to. I don't care, dude. Actually, already is a case switch. So do you want to do nested case switching? That's probably why I went for the if else. You can. There's nothing technically prohibiting you. It's just like, is your brain going to survive? You see the case keyword, you're like, which level of abstraction am I casing right now? You have a seizure and die? None of us want that. So, I need another block here. I think I'll go ahead and make two of these. So the else if has a year, and I'll go ahead and make two of these. 1, 2, 3. I have to paste it thrice to get two new blocks. Make sense? I did something wrong. Right, I'm doubling up on the block closer. Let me add a line break. So I want to, don't grab it at that brace, grab it on the else keyword. So Command C, V, V, V. And now it's mad because it's a duplicated action. That's fine. We're going to change, is it month or monthly? I think it's month. These are the button UI literals, month and quarter. These are the two new ones. Okay, week, year. Maybe these should be alphabetical. Yeah, they should. Let's undo that. Okay. I put them in the UI ordering and that's not a good idea. We want them to be alphabetical. T-U-V, Q-R-S, T-U-V. So Q would go first. Okay, so actually these should be predecessor cases. I should be prepending instead of appending if I want to respect the alpha ordering. So if one, two, three. Oh, we need a space character. One. Whoa, what happened there? One. Dude, what are you doing? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now you will say month, quarter, QRSTUVWXY. See, I know the alphabet. I'm qualified to be a programmer. Month, quarter, TY. People say, hey, John, can anyone really be a programmer? Anyone? And the answer is no. If you don't know the alphabet, you're not going to make it, homie. You're not going to make it. You need to know the alphabet. Okay. Now I want to swap this out for donations monthly to ISO. Yes, that's what I want, and I knew that. I'm going to comment the entities which are yet to be designed, or I mean yet to be implemented anyway. They're not yet to be designed. I could throw not implemented right now. Let's do it. Look, GitHub Copilot came in clutch. Thanks. Quarterly view not yet implemented. Great. So let's go click on that month button and see if it works now. Refresh the page. Bam. Swig off my Celsius. Hold on. Bear with me. Thanks again for being here. If you're enjoying the video, tap the screen to like it. That will help the algorithm send it to everyone on the internet so that everyone can learn to code. Let's teach everyone to code. All right, here we are on the year view by default. It's looking great. I can hover, and I know that there were almost $5 million donated in March. Let's go. That's fake data. CCR, thanks for being here. What language are you using? The answer is TypeScript. This is a TypeScript application. Okay, so now we click week. This is just a regression test. We get a flash of unstyled content. It makes me sad. I think that's an artifact of using a development server. Not super sure. But in any case, it works. So now I can go back and forth. It's looking good. We see the cards repopulate appropriately to match the data under expression or under visualization. Now we click month. Oh, did it work? The answer appears to be no. The answer appears to be no because look at this. Ooh, we're mixing. Hey, here's a fun problem. Okay. We're mixing. You can see 9/8 is a date and then October is a month, right? So we're mixing abstractions. That is, that's my fault. Why did that happen? Because I commented current pledges, so it just doesn't update and it's using the pre-update pledge data, which we don't want. So here, instead of commenting it, I'll put a dummy. So it'll just be an empty array. Yeah, it doesn't want the empty one. Okay, so we told the type compiler to chill out because it's just a dummy artifact. So now we go to week, year, and month. And the map is illegal. Cannot read properties of the undefined map. Oh, right. Current pledges is not a list. Actually, it is this thing. Financial period is the empty list. And the other, so the type compiler was right. Man, every time I use as any, I feel a little bit bad. And I should, because it's not the right thing to do. So here's the donation data type. It's the resolution of this bad boy, which is to say this bad boy. So we have 4 year and financial period are the keys, and they are the blankable. Oops, what am I doing? The emptyable, the blankable, mockable, stubbable properties rather than the root. I don't think it should say 4 year. I think it should say 4 month, right? I don't know. Shouldn't it say 4 month? Donation data type. This says latest week to ISO. Let me jump back. What is going on? I'm trying to jump back. Control. This is the monthly. So why is it jumping me to the weekly? Monthly donations by year result. Monthly donations by year. Oh, because get monthly donations by year. This is the wrong thing. That's why. This is the wrong thing. Donations latest month to ISO. Donations latest month. This thing. Latest month should be this thing, 4 month. How did I get badly referenced? Let me go back to my context. I think the context type might be off. So here we are in the context. Donations monthly to ISO. I think that this type is wrong. Okay. Here we are in the dashboard props. Donations latest week. Yeah, this type is wrong. Donations latest week to ISO. Donations latest month to ISO. It should be a donation data type. It should be a donation data type. So let's look at this. And this is the problem. Yeah. This is wrong. Okay. So it's resolving only one method. I want to say or get monthly donations by year. I want to say or get latest month donations or get latest week donations without context. Cool. And so now what say ye? Donations monthly to ISO. I shouldn't be unioning these things. These should really just be different types. This breaks it into a few lines. I'd rather have it be one line. One way that I can do that, I see that I'm recycling this resolve promise type of return type. So let me call this resolved return type. Resolved return type. And that's going to extend T. Instead of extends promise infer T, we're going to extend this. No. I don't need to extend it, I can just say it. So the resolved return type is the resolved promise type. Of the return type of T. So here we have the resolved return type. Can I say this? Bam. Get latest month, get latest week. Okay. And then the other is the donation, current donations. Ah, see, current donations truly would be a union. So that's actually the real reason to union these. So the current donations, when I'm going through the context and I'm like picking any of those buttons, the current one really can be any of those. So it's like a proper union. Okay. Yeah, so we can go back to using the donations data type. So we'll grab this. There should be 3 of these. 1, 2, 3. The third one is the monthly to ISO. So 1, 2, 3. And here, get latest, and the other is not a latest. Get this one. Get monthly donations by year without context. Okay, so what's the complaint now? Cannot find name donation data type. Well, you are the donation data type. Colon expected. It doesn't like the way that I'm writing the union. Resolved promise type. Get rid of this. I am a bit baffled. Why can I not just say it's this of t? It's this of t. Does not satisfy the constraint args any. So I need to guarantee that t is a function. I think that's the issue. TypeScript guarantee that t is a function. Let's see if GPT can figure this one out. Or I might just roll it back and write it the way I was writing it previously. So how can I indicate that t is always a function in the following type expression? Let's add a bit of context. Follow for a cookie says, which is your favorite, JS or Python? Out of those two, I like Python more, but I would still recommend people start with JavaScript because JavaScript is going to get you into a more achievable path into web development, and you can also upskill to TypeScript, which I like more than either of those. How can I indicate that t is, okay, I am trying to solve this error. Got it. So let's copy this. Okay. So I was putting the extends on the wrong hand, on the wrong side of the expression. Okay, so now we have this resolved return type, and then you are the resolved return type. And instead of unioning within the angles, I will union outside of the angles, which is gonna, okay, thanks Copilot. So that's gonna make me, let me double check, 1 and 2, so you're correct. So it's gonna make me duplicate. Let me try one more time now that I have this newfangled thingamabob. That's a very technical term, not to be confused with the old fangled thingamabob. Will it blend now? It does. Okay. So in light of the new expression, I get to remove some boilerplate. So I don't have to say that resolved return type over and over. So that's cleaner, I think. So now we have it, and it's a proper union. 1, 2, 3. Great. So, and then we have it in these 4 spots because on the UI I'm picking 1, 2, 3, and then the current will be any of those. In theory, I could set this to be the current donation data type, and then I could specify the others more precisely. I think this is good though. It makes it simple. It makes it simple. I'm here for it. So let's commit this as its own feature, which is the resolved return type, which I've created now. That's pretty cool. That's a cool little thing. Bob, right? That's what I called it, right? So that's what it is. So here, this will be a feature, resolved return type, we'll commit that. And now let's deal with, we're back in the context. Monthly to ISO is a donation data type. Yes, it is. So what's the problem? This should be working, right? Donations monthly to ISO. So we come over here. Year, week, month. Did we solve the mixing? We did solve the mixing, so it's not mixing anymore. It's just all months now. But that is not desirable. So why have I clicked the month and omitted? So you can see the pledges are hidden because I have that empty stub. But when I click the month, we're using the annual data, which is not desirable. Yo, there's also the tiniest rectangular flash around the border of those buttons. Ah, that's really irritating. Whatever. I don't think it's too noticeable. Okay, month is sending the wrong data. So I need to look in my context emitter. This is on the, when I use the dispatch, Command-Shift-F, dispatch. So the data that I'm sending here into context is wrong. So when I click the month button, I'm sending the annual data. So here we are in the dashboard left region. Here's the dispatch. Let's find where this is used. Here it is. Set active index for parent. We're dispatching the set view. We're dispatching this payload. Next period. What in the Egyptian mythology is this? Now I have to decipher what I meant. Next period. Actually, that's not too hard. It's not next as in one more index. It's next as in I'm about to set it. I'm about to set it. So that's fine. So the payload is the next period. This is the reducer payload. It actually can be a primitive. It doesn't need to be, yeah. So it's a string primitive. Week, month, quarter, or year. Good. I mean, I can debug it just to guarantee that when I say I'm sending month, I'm sending month. I think I am, so I'm not even going to bother to debug it now. But if I can't figure this out momentarily, I'll debug it. So there's the button group. We click it. And then what? We never use it again? Set time period index. We set it, and what do we do with it? Here's the time period index. Now we need the stat card data. Okay, so I think the stat card data lookup is busted. Let's look over there. This is making the little cards. Actually, I think this part is working. Let's look on our cards. So the graph is messed up, but are the cards good? 3 millis, 41 millis. Yeah. If 3 is a month, then that times 12 is like close-ish to 41 plus the variation. This mock data has variation intended. So it looks like the 3M really is for the current month. So the card is correct, even though the chart is goofed. Okay, so let's proceed as if get stat card data is groovy. So get stat card data, we're saying is groovy. Where else do I use this bad boy? Enter. Like nowhere else. It's not used anywhere else. That's weird. So where's the bar graph data coming from? Not in this page is the answer. It's contained within itself. Okay. So this data tool is funky McGee. Do I say anything about year? Week? Nope. It's abstracted out. That's good. So the current donations are here. Financial period map. It seems that the donation data is not updated. Donations monthly to ISO. Is this just the wrong property name? Yes, it is. Okay. I'm going to go kill myself. I'm back, born again. All right, so the issue was I was putting the wrong data there, and that's why the wrong data showed up. Yay, that is a month of data. Wow, there's a lot of ticks there. That was a good day. Look at that. 500 grand on that day. These numbers don't add up to 3 million in donations. So that's weird. Excuse me. But this is the month of September. Okay, what might be happening is that this 3M is looking back 30 days. Because this is only like 1M. Whatever, that's a different concern. The concern of charting seems fixed. Looks good to me. Should we go? Let's go take care of quarter real quick, and then I'll do the pledges offline, but you get the idea. So here, let me commit where I'm at. So where I'm at is feet, monthly reducer, action. Okay. We'll commit that, we'll push that. Here, I will adopt a similar stubbing strategy for the quarterly pledges. Okay. And then this will be called something else. So we'll go fix that. Let's go find all the places where this was used, and we're basically going to have to update those places for quarterly as well. Donations, latest month to ISO, and I do not want the latest quarter. I mean, the end user might come back and be like, you screwed this up, but I think I want all 4 quarters of the year. So it would not be the latest quarter. It would be more similar to the annual pattern. Donations monthly. Let me double check. On the monthly, is it a look back of 12 months or is it the whole year? It's actually not clear, right? It says December. So this is intended to be the whole year. It's intended to be the whole year. There's just, so these should be sort of like empty because they haven't actually happened yet. It's just that the mock data generation script created some donations in the future. That's what happened. This is a whole year view. It is not last year, I think. Let's double check. In any case, I'll go ahead and eagerly place this, and I will call this donations quarterly to ISO, reflecting the pattern of the donations monthly to ISO. What are you using for the graphs? D3JS? It's just chart.js. What's up, Jordy? Thanks for being here. It's chart.js. Okay. And yeah, chart is a higher level wrapper around D3, but I don't directly interact with D3. You can escape into D3 if you need to, but that's like usually a bad idea. It's usually a bad idea because it's more complicated and you don't want to deal with that unless you need to. Okay. Donations quarterly to ISO, and what I want to see is the donations monthly. Is this, which December am I looking at? 2023 or 2022? So here, donations monthly comes from this query. This is an RPC Blitz.js query, similar to like TRPC or something like that, a React query maybe. Similar to one of those, but it's Blitz.js. And it's based on the year you provide. Good, that's very clear. And so let's look in get static props. Here we are in get static props, and this is the current year. So the December was, as I said, 2023. It's not last year, it's this year. And we'll do similarly with donations quarterly. So we're gonna pass in, let's see if GPT already made this. We may ask it to rewrite. Command F, V, enter. Here's the monthly view, and here is the quarterly view. Get monthly donations by quarter. See, I don't want to do that. instead of getting monthly donations by quarter, please create a quarterly view called this is what we use GPT for. And so it's taking in the year as an argument. That's what we expect. And I'm going to pass in the current year. And it's going to say for year, but I want it to say for, yeah, I do. It should have 4 elements in there, 1 for each quarter. Let me copy this. Q1, 2, 3, 4. Let's use the, I don't know, do I want to call it Q1? Yeah, let's call it Q1. Part of me wants to call it like spring, summer, winter, fall. Let's go Q1. They're not even the same, right? So Q1 would be January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. And those don't exactly match onto the seasons, do they? So Q1 is the financially correct thing to do, I think. So let's make a file. The new file, we're going over here. We are under the donations, not in the pages directory, in the feature directory. Right, so here are the queries. Right-click new file. Get quarterly donations by year.ts. I'll just drop it in, bam, FVZ. I don't know what I just said. VS. Command S is the one that saves it. Command V, Command S. This is looking good. Let's review it. So we have the expected argument, the expected return type. We're grabbing donation greater than the first of the year to the first of next year. That's fine. Less than the first of next year. This is good. We got 4 quarters. For each of those quarters, we're going to floor the index. Why are we doing this? Because that's the right way to get the index. What's throwing me is the 3 instead of a 4. Why is it a 3 instead of a 4? Okay. Because it's a 0 based. So 0 over 3, 1 over 3. 1 over 3 will still floor down to 0, right? Let's ask GPT to explain this line. 1 over 3 will still floor down to 0. 2 over 3. Yeah, dude. I think either my brain's not working or there's an error in the Q2 case. Explain this line. The logic behind this expression. Oh, okay. Because we are not dividing the quarter by 3. We're dividing the month index by 3. Totally makes sense. Thanks, GPT. Great explanation. That fixed my brain quite promptly. I don't understand the line break here, but I'm not mad about it. That's fine. This looks good. So now let's use it. So now we're going over to get static props. Quick fix, it is named as expected, so I can directly import it. I'm going to Command Shift P, sort imports, Command S. So now I have donations quarterly. I need to come down here. and make the ISO form to ISO. Copilot coming in clutch because it's a very clearly defined templated pattern. It's a boilerplate. Get latest week to ISO. We'll drop it in right after there. Now we have our props are correct, but the type definition for those props on context is still failing. So we come over here to our dashboard props. This is basically all the things that we did previously. It really is a case of like doing it once is sort of tricky, but doing it twice is super easy. So there's the donations quarterly to ISO. That is already here. That's looking good. Now I go back to context. Here we are. Donations quarterly to ISO. Command S. Okay. Am I missing anything? Is there something on the chart sides that I'm still missing? I don't think so. I think when we looked through the bar graph, we didn't have to tweak anything, did we? It was a matter of fixing the context. Okay, so let's try it out. Functional testing time. We're on the year. Let's go down to the week. Got the flash of unstyled content. It's a bummer, but it works. Tap the video if you're liking it, and they'll send it to other people. Bam. Flash of unstyled content. Now we're on the month, but it still works. We go back week, month. It's looking good. Now what about quarter? Oh, and we failed. Unable to match input value. Why do I see this error? And what is to be done? Using conjunctions and is generally a bad idea with GPT. It can confuse the prompt. So I might not get a great answer, but I don't want to think about like how to do that differently. This should be a pretty straightforward thing to fix. Get quarterly donations by year. Here we are. By the way, financial period, I don't need to be redefining in so many places. Command-Shift-F, V, delete this. Now I should be able to import it. Okay. And similar for, okay, donation is already defined. Arguably, this follows the monthly donations by year type. 4-year financial period. 4-year financial period. So I'm just going to call it donations by year. Make it a little more generic. Then we can export it now that it's reused. Come back over here, and I don't need to define it in 2 places. Let's do a hover and an import. Cool. All right, let's see what GPT said. There's something wrong with your Prisma query. Great. A value is required but not set, GTE. Yep. Okay, does the query not have a GTE? It's right here, right? Ah, I might need to, hold on. Is this whole thing just because I needed to refresh the page? Here, let's see. RPC handler is not defined. Ooh, okay. This is a poorly documented error that I've run into so many times I know it by memory. This error happens when you export your Blitz query in the unexpected format. So this is basically a syntax error. So here, export async function, and let's compare it with this one. Export async function. Yeah, so I need a resolver pipe. I need the resolver pipe. Monthly donations by year, quarterly donations by year. There's no resolver pipe. That's the issue. Okay, that's the issue. By the way, does this even need to be exported? Command CFV, enter. Yes, because we use them both for different purposes. So one is the static props. What is the other? I'm baffled. I'm baffled. This would seem to be the runtime query response, but there should be no runtime query response unless get static props isn't working because we are in dev mode. Great. So we need to export them both. So this one needs to be exported as the default. That's the trick. Okay. I guess the page already refreshed, but let me refresh it anyway. Oof. So we're on year by default. Year's looking good. Let's test regression test week, month, back, toggling around these works. And now for the quarter. Da 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 da. Oh no. Okay, so we still failed. Donation where input time donated, date time filter GTE, a value is required but not set. How is it not being set? How's it not being set? Here's the time donated. By the way, 1 is going to less than the 31st. That seems to be an error. Seems to be an error. We don't want it to be less than the 31st because we want to include the 31st. We want it to be less than the 1st of the next year. I'm going to modify my chair to sit down. Ooh, or modify my desk, I guess. So let's unpack this mystery. Oh, that's enough. Let's unpack this mystery. Da 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 da. Where time donated? Where time donated? This is working. Donations. DB donation find many. DB donation find many. I would seem to literally be able to use the same block. Command X, Z. I'm just comparing these blocks. Command V. I don't see any difference. I don't see any difference. So the issue is not to be found here, basically. Donations by year result. donations quarterly. Monthly donations by year without context. Let me restart my server. This is on the off chance that it's because I introduced a new query and the query isn't being loaded into the dev server for some reason. Oh, you know what? That's actually not unlikely. That's not unlikely because we had the export default syntax error. And it's quite often the case that once your dev server gets into a bad state, it can't heal. So even though I fixed the code, the server might still be busted. And the fix is to just turn it on and off again. Okay, so let's try that. Before we go down some rabbit hole, let's just see if the restart the computer approach worked. Year is working, week. Week is working, month. All the regression tests are passing, we love it. What about quarter? Nope. Bummer, Prisma donation find many failed. We might need to break out the debugger, y'all. Donations quarterly is right here. How is this evaluating to null? That is so weird. Does a messed up string turn null? Let's use the console here. And what if I just said like, an empty string? It's still not null, right? It's still not null. What if I put null here? It still doesn't create a problem. So the fact that it's receiving null is so strange to me. Get monthly donations by year. That's fine. Let's simply console.log the year and make sure that the year is getting through. It really doesn't matter because even if the year is not getting through, we already showed. Maybe if it's coming in as undefined, that creates a problem. Oops, didn't mean to click that. Okay, so it has an error, that's fine, but let's take a look at the server log. Time period index 2. That's get stat card data. That's also fine. Get donations for period. I don't expect that. Okay, that's not creating an error. That's over on the right-hand side of the dashboard. That's just not the area that we're working on. Prisma client known request error. Get quarterly donations by year. Get monthly donations by year. export async function, export async function. I wonder if I'm not allowed to import the Zod sideways like this. That would be a very strange thing. We're going to use an error as a log here. Throw new error. Year was year. So this will still crash the server, but maybe we will be able to get to our log. This is getting to the find many, which is unexpected. It should be crashing before that. It says it's receiving a string when it wants a date time, but does it complain similarly over here? So this is a date. This is a date. They are date objects, so I don't know. Let's do an empty cache hard reload. Okay, here is a really dumb thing it might be. I'm looking for quarter instead of quarterly. Is that it? No, quarter. Donations quarterly. Get quarterly donations by year without context. All right, let's read a little more from GPT. Make sure you're providing date time values to both of these. Start date, end date. Replace with your actual end date. So it's just pulling the date expression out of the find many. Why is this one working? Just going to go to week and then back to year. So this is working. Let's look at the imports. Blitz RPC, Blitz DB Zod. Blitz RPC. So we never throw a not found error. That's a difference. That is a little bit unnecessary. Like, you could return an empty list, right? You can't for each on a null. That's the reason I did that. Okay, that's fine. So now the imports basically match. All right, let's try this thing. I mean, this is a very weird root cause if this is it, but hey, let's try it. So the root cause here would be that my compiler maybe, doesn't want me to import these entities from a sibling query file. Wow. Oh, no, that was month. That wasn't quarter. We don't know. Okay. So that was not it. I'm glad that was not it. Prisma donation find many. I think we need to do a debugger now. Oh, hold on. Let me try one more time. It could still just be getting imported incorrectly. Get quarterly donations by year. I don't ever seem to be using. Get monthly donations by year without context. Get monthly donations by year without context. And what about with context? Get monthly pledges by year. That's fine. It's always using the without context form. Okay, so this seems like unused. So I guess the only reason it's there is to satisfy the compiler. I don't know, or I'm missing where it's used. Let's throw on this, and then if that doesn't provide me any information, then I will drop a debugger. Error, year was 2023. Okay. Good. So later, somehow year becomes null. I'm trying to be super picky, and now I'm looking at the async keywords, so there's still an async keyword. Okay. Yeah, I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it, so I think I need to use a debugger now. Because I don't see the log showing up either, right? Console.log. Excuse me. This did show up as an error, but I haven't seen it show up as a log. I guess we can try that before I break out the debugger. Who is calling this? It's like get static props when it's like get static props is not sending the year. I'm going to turn off the dev server, and I'm going to try and build this and run it a more normal way. Donations quarterly to ISO. Let me just make sure I don't have sort of like debugging code. I'm going to roll that back temporarily. The console log can stay. The error should not be there. Okay, so let's npm run build. You might ask, like, why am I hesitating to use the debugger so much? It's kind of a pain to use. That's the reason. And the other reason is I'm just really suspicious, like, I'm not sure it's going to help me. Now we'll npm run start instead of npm run div, and what this will do is it will try to run the one that I built. It will run the one that I built. So the statically compiled form, basically. Okay. Yeah. That's so weird to me. Is there a cache miss somewhere and that's why get static props is running? No one should be actually calling this guy. Okay. All right, so let's use a debugger. Donations quarterly, here we are. Add a debugger. So this is a server-side debugger. So I'll stop the server, run and debug. I don't think, like it might not, the debugger might not catch the way that I just ran it. So I'm using the JavaScript debugger terminal. And yeah, it's like it's not breakpointing here. So this thing seems like it wasn't called at all. Oh, or is it caught right now? I'm not sure that it caught here. It seems like it didn't catch within this function. So here's the call stack. Okay, now I caught. So here's the year. Great. And it didn't go through there again. You know what? Is this a different find many? Hold on. Maybe I do a db find many somewhere else in the code. Get donations for period. Okay, yeah, this is the... We've been debugging the wrong block. Okay, so remember when I was like, oh, that's something that's happening on the right side of the dashboard, we're not working on that? It's still the one that's creating an error somehow. All right. Dude, this thing is getting hit over and over. So I'm going to go click the quarterly thing, and that's when it's going to break. Week, month, year. There's no hours in the period for quarter. Okay, so this is the reason. And this is used in the stat card. Okay, so we can stop the bug with a quick fix by plugging in a number of hours per quarter. Week, month, and there is the confirmation about the chart versus card data. It looks like the card was looking back 30 days, even when the chart wasn't. It would be better if these things shared data. To do, use the same queries that the chart is using. What did you miss? A bunch of stuff. Week, month, quarter. So that's 24 by 30 by 3. Let me add a to-do here in this pull request. These are just the strings to grep to find. So we're making a chart. We're making a chart of the donations. Here, I'll break the debugger. We basically found it now. And so the bug that we found is the cards, these cards up here, are using different data compared to the chart, and the cards did not support quarter, was the issue. The cards didn't have the concept of a quarter. I'm still not sure that they do, so let's see. So here's the period. And it's the time period index. Okay, so it's the same period. It can be quarter. Cool. Oh, there's all these different ones. Get calls for period, get donations for period. Okay, so I got to go add it in all these different ones. Hours and period. Week, month, quarter, year. That seems like it's like duplicated logic, right? Week, month, quarter, year. Maybe it only impacts the standard period map. Does have a quarter. Okay, so this thing is just not using the standard period map. That's the issue. This entity should be used in 4 places, I think. So here in the calls, in the donations, and it's not used there, but it should be. Here in the pledges. So we just found an existing bug, basically. It's not used here, but it should be. Hours and period. Where's this used? Okay. Now it's used in calls, donations, and pledges. All right, but is there one more I thought I saw? Calls, donations, pledges. No, that's pretty much it. Okay, cool. So we can commit that separately. That'll be a fix. And now, let's go back. And now quarter is working, Q1, Q2, Q3. Okay, so we'll commit them together. If I can, I don't know, get donations for period. We'll not commit them together. I'll show the break and then I'll show it's fixed. So this is the feature. This feature is get quarterly donations by year. We'll just say quarterly donations. And then these will be, so we'll push that. And then this will be a fixed commit. Use standard time period map. Push that. And that's going to do it for today's stream. So I fixed the donations, right? I need to go back and fix the pledges, but you have an idea of how I was able to use ChatGPT to help me write a bunch of this code. Obviously, you can see that I did a lot of it myself as well. It's a collaborative process. It's not a replacement. If you think you can just drop and replace your developers with GPT, you're going to have a bad time. But I used GPT for a bunch of things, right? It helped explain some code, it helped troubleshoot, it helped generate. And so that's what it's there for. It helps us. If you found this entertaining, follow the channel, stay tuned. I code all the time. Thanks for being here.